It's good to see you in the room already. What's happening, Dana?
Good morning.
What's going
Good
on?
morning.
What's going on, everybody? Listen, we've got a couple of different things working here this morning. My system crashed a couple of days back, and I've had to reboot things to get things going. So things are in a different place, you guys, and we're trying to figure it out as we go. Welcome to Breakfast with the Brookses. Hey, Michonne. Good to see you guys. Good to see you guys. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this screen so that you guys can see all of what's going on. Welcome to
Good
Breakfast
morning.
with the Brookses. For those of you guys who are just jumping in, listen, I want you guys to do me a huge favor. Tag this out, baby. You're going to slide in a little bit closer.
Okay.
Tag this out because we're going to be talking about 4 guiding questions I think that you guys really need to consider when it comes to navigating this space called dating and called relationships. Listen, I know that many of you guys have gone here. If you've been in this place, guys, where you have dated the same person in a different body, I want you to put a 1 in the chat. If you have been there where you've dated the same person in a different body over the years, I want you to put a 1 in the chat. And you're trying to figure out, how is it that I keep showing up dating the same person over and over again? Yep, it is. That's why I said some things are working a little bit different. So do me a favor, let's talk a little bit. I'm going to try and get IG signed up. For those of you guys who are just jumping in, my name's Glenn P. Brooks Jr. I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a coach, and I'm sitting here next to the lovely light skin
Cherie Brooks Jr., author, speaker, relationship, and life balance coach. It's great to be with you guys this morning. So today, the last couple of weeks, we've been really dealing with singles and how to prepare yourself for marriage. And actually, this weekend we're doing a I don't want to call it a workshop. It's not really a workshop. It's an experience.
Yeah.
With some singles this weekend here in Norfolk. It's called The Road to I Do, a weekend you'll never forget. A weekend you'll never forget.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be having some conversations and helping them to figure out what are some things that you guys really need to talk about. What are the topics that you need to address before you say I do.
Yeah.
And so today we're going to talk about 4 particular things that you need to consider. You need to think about when you're considering a person as potentially being your spouse. There are some things that you need to consider. And even, I'm going to go back, even before you even get to that phase, when you're dating a person, there are some things that you need to be looking for, specifically when you start dating a person, when you start thinking about getting in a relationship with a person, if your goal is to get married.
Yeah.
If you just dating just to have fun, you just want to hang out,
right,
then these things aren't that important. But if your goal is that one day you want to get married, you're looking for a permanent mate, you're looking for somebody that's going to be your lifelong mate, your life partner, then there are some things that you need to really think about and consider, even when you first meet a person. Some things you need to look for, other than how fine they are or how cute they are.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's some really deep core issues that you need to address. And we're going to talk about some of those, and some that even for us, when we met, there were certain things that, some conclusions we both had to come to and change our perspective on what we were looking for.
Ooh, that's good, baby, because we just had someone hit us up the other day, and for whatever reason, I'm a little...
You're off.
No, I need you to slide in a little bit more. Just do me a favor, guys. Bear with us for a second.
I think the table is.
Yeah, I think the table is in a different place today. So yeah, no, I'm good. Okay. I think we're good. Just watch the logo in the middle. So okay. Guys, listen, and we're live, so it's all cool. It's showing great from your phone. Somebody looks like they're having some issues where it keeps buffering. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I don't know what's going on your end. Everything looks great on our end.
Yeah.
I know that we are up on a new system, and we are trying some. Well, not a new system. We had to reboot our existing system,
and it's
been some upgrades to it. And so we're looking at some new features and things like that that may or may not be affecting you guys. But while we're here, we're not going to be super long today. We've got a lot going on. But Cherie, we recently had one of the folks that we coach ask us this question, and they was asking for a friend, literally. And they were talking about the friend's perspective on the kind of people that they should look at dating. And one of the things that I want to submit, guys, is that you have to be really careful when you start ruling out groups of people, groups of potential folks that you want to talk to because of things that you've learned growing up. So for instance, where I grew up in South Baltimore, it wasn't cool for you to grow up and be a fan of certain kinds of music. It just wasn't cool because it wasn't the culture.
Right.
Well, if I make a broad stroke and say, listen, if you don't like gospel music, I'm not dating you.
Right. That's like me saying, if you're not a Cowboy fan, I'm not going to date you.
It's like, really?
Can't talk to you. You're not, or if you're a Redskins fan and you meet somebody and you're like, you're not a Redskins fan, so we can't talk.
Right,
it's like,
right.
Really?
Right.
That really is at the core of who that person is?
Right. And again, that's a real lighthearted way of describing it.
But people really do that.
But yeah, no, they really, no, you're really serious. Like,
Right,
listen, I've known people that are so diehard something, fill in the blank, that they're willing to say, listen, if that person isn't about to get on page with me here, I can't even talk to them. And what they are talking about are things that can change.
Right. And one thing I want to, just as we're talking about that, one thing that, I've witnessed, I've seen women do this particularly over the years, is that if you're in a professional field and you won't date a man who works in a blue collar job because he's not in a professional field like you.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a maintenance person or he's a contractor, but you won't date him solely based on that.
That's good, babe.
Where that has nothing to do with who the person is at their core. They making a living. They got a job.
Yeah.
They're doing something with themselves. But people, we have these ideas that we either learn growing up or just from the culture that we're in, the group of friends that we're in. And we will base a lifelong decision off of somebody else's preference that becomes our preference instead of looking at the person as a whole.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't care if you're a ditch digger. If you treat me well and we share the same, some other things that are in common, that's what really matters.
That's what really matters. So let's get into this a little bit, guys. Today we're going to talk about, good morning, Angie. What's up? What's up? I don't have my glasses on this morning. That was a mistake. I left them on my dresser. Good morning and God bless you. But I'm doing pretty good. I can see the comments from here. Guys, I want y'all to do me a huge favor. Tag somebody if they're single. Tag somebody or share this out to somebody who is currently dating or maybe they're engaged. I will say this. Today, we're excited because we are getting ready to do part 2 of an event that we created called The Road to I Do. Cherie and I are clear, and we're very well aware that what we have statistically isn't normal.
Right.
And when I say statistically isn't normal, when we look at the statistics of people who are getting divorced, what we have come to the conclusion, we realize those stats are legit.
Right.
Like really more than almost 50% of first marriages are ending in divorce. More than 60% of second marriages are ending in divorce. And well over 70% of third marriages are ending in divorce. Cherie is I'm on my second marriage with Cherie.
And I'm on my third marriage with you.
And so we shouldn't be together. The question is, what are we doing that's working?
Right.
What did we do to help us identify that we were healthy for each other, we were right for each other, and that, again, no guarantees, but that we were absolutely setting ourselves up to win. I think in relationship, babe, so many people are afraid to step out because they're looking for the guarantee. The guarantee that this will work. The guarantee that this will go according to plan. And I'm sorry to say that whenever you're dealing with a human being, there are no guarantees.
Right, it's a gamble.
It's always a gamble.
It's always a gamble. It's funny, actually, my devotional this morning kind of touched on this, that you have to realize that in life, whenever it comes to you being intimate, any type of intimate relationship, and I'm not talking about physically intimate, just opening yourself up to a person, there's risk involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be risk because you have to be vulnerable and you're expecting that person to be vulnerable, but you have to be willing to be vulnerable, to be open for a person to really get to know you and for you to really get to know that person. And so there is risk associated with that.
Yeah.
But if you start off with some parameters, it's going to help protect you to some degree because at least you guys are kind of on the same path. You got some things in common that will help safeguard it. It doesn't mean it's going to work. Every situation is going to work. Every person that you date is not going to be the one. But if you have certain parameters that you're looking for, number one, it helps you to hold back emotionally because you're looking for markers before you let yourself get so emotionally attached. But you still open yourself up and let them see the real you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, Michonne. Michonne says she shared it to Facebook. I appreciate that, guys. LaRonda, you brought up a point that it makes a lot of sense, and I've learned this the older that I get. LaRonda says, I've learned that my preference is not necessarily God's will. And that's huge. Because our preference, listen to me very carefully, is shaped in things that are temporary.
Mm-hmm.
I need y'all to hear this. What I prefer is based upon my circumstances. Circumstances are temporary. They will change. Over time, give it time, your circumstances can change. And so if I pick a person that I want to spend the rest of my life with, which is a very long time, Lord willing, and I'm picking based on the fact that I prefer a certain thing. If that preference changes, what happens to the relationship?
Right.
So for instance, when you and I met, preferred, and I'm just going to be dead real. Can I keep it 100?
100.
Can I just keep it 100? Somebody do me a favor and say, keep it 100, Glenn. If I can keep it all the way real, because I might offend somebody with this next statement I'm going to make. I just want to know, is it okay? Do I have permission to be honest with you? What's up, Russ? Good to see you, bro.
Good morning.
Good to see you, man. Listen, guys, we're talking about today 4 things that you need to consider when picking your spouse. And I'm talking about this idea that a lot of people will pick based on what they prefer, not what they need. God knows what you need because he made you.
Right.
And so if you decide to show up and you pick solely based on what you prefer, I'm of the opinion you're going to wind up at some point missing out. And so I got a whole bunch of keeping it 100. Come on, Tony. That is my flamingo brother. I love it. I love it. David Marsh said, keep it. Oh, look, the chat is lit. They say, go ahead. All right, so here's the deal. When Cherie and I met, I preferred thick women. All right, now I know that sounds shallow, and it might be offensive to some of y'all, but I preferred women who had a little something happening on their bones, a little meat on the bone, you know what I'm saying? And just, I just wanted somebody that I could bump up against a little bit. I'm sorry about that, babe. You wasn't supposed to be drinking coffee. Bump up a little bit because I'm playful, right? And so I just want to be a bump up again. You ain't going to just fall apart. And, I like to wrestle and play around and get physical a little bit and just, and just have fun, not anything crazy. Here's the deal. When I met Cherie, what size were you?
Probably a 6.
A 6, but she was a tiny, petite 6. She, in my opinion, she was about this big, in my opinion. Now, I've always been a thick guy, right? I've always been that way since I was a little kid, probably from 9th grade on. I started picking up size. I was lifting weights. I was always in the gym. So I've always been this dense guy. And so I always enjoyed hanging out with women who love having fun, being a little roughhousing, goofing off. And is everybody, Michelle said, Coach, I'm cracking up right now. Y'all said I could keep it real.
Right.
Well, when I met you, I'm saying to myself, she's none of those things.
No.
And what's funny was that she was tall in none of those things, which that was another preference of mine. I didn't want no person, I didn't want to deal with a person that, quite frankly, was as tall as I am. I know that sounds shallow, but I'm saying something that all of y'all have said about yourselves.
Right.
And so I was not picking you.
Right. Based on that.
Based on my preference.
Right. And the same was for me. My preference was they had to definitely be taller than me, and I liked slender men. Slender, well-built, tall men.
Tall, dark, and handsome. Not short, thick, and ugly. Certainly not bald-headed.
I didn't say he was ugly. But on the outside, he didn't fit my criteria either. And so had I stuck to that and been like, oh, I ain't messing with him. Even going to talk to him.
Right.
We wouldn't be now getting ready to be 21 years.
In a row, excited. And I was talking with the singles last night. And we was just getting real, y'all. And I wish y'all was here. The next time we do this road to I do for my single people, y'all have got to make whatever adjustment you got to make to be here, because it's only going to get better. This is a first time trial run. We're figuring out what people need, what they really don't need, and what they like. Oh my God, we had a ball last night. And so I'm telling the singles last night, I said, I find myself at 20 years in stuck. When you come in a room, no matter what time of day or night it is, I often find myself stuck.
What do you mean by stuck?
When I say stuck, I mean, like, wow, I can't believe that this woman is everything that I always ever wanted in a person to be with for the rest of my life. Today.
Stop! You're gonna make me start blushing.
Today, listen, I'm proud to say that I thickened her up.
Oh gosh, yeah, he did.
She has this running joke.
I'm getting back to skinty.
That she's mad because of me. Because of me, she's no longer skinty.
I'm not skinty no more. Because
I likes to eat. But I'm saying all that to say, guys, I never thought that would be possible. That at 20 years, things actually are getting better and better and better in our relationship. And it feels, and we've said this before about each other, like our relationship feels like it's getting newer.
Right.
If that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. And so I think that is available for everyone. I think that it's about how you are perceiving things, and I think it's about how you move. So we're going to drill down on these four things to consider when you are picking your spouse. If you're ready for this content, put ready in the chat, put ready in the chat, put ready in the chat. Spread the word about the tall, slender men, please, says the tall, very skinny guy. I love it, Tony. Tony is my dude. I love you, Tony. Tony, we got to figure out a way to bring this event to the Midwest, bro. I think you're in Chicago, if I'm not mistaken. And we got another young lady in our singles community. Tony, you got to stop playing and come on, be a part of the MAPS singles group. By the way, guys, if you want to know more information about our MAPS, it's the Relationship Academy, but particularly for those people who want to be in a room full of singles who are growing towards being married, go to www.thecrcoach.com. Sign up for a free discovery session so that we can chop it up. There is a monthly subscription involved in it, but trust me when I tell you, the value you get out of it, it well outweighs what you spend. And the goal really is to show up and be able to be a significant amount of help. So we got a ton of readies in the chat. Okay, so number one, 4 things that you need to consider when picking your spouse. Number 1, you need to consider, who are you? Put that in the chat. Who are you? Number 1 thing you need to consider, who are you?
And so when we say who are you, it's you considering your personality, considering who you are at your core. When you look at another person, you take that into consideration, because if you're an introvert or if you're an analytical person, so we do a DISC assessment that's overlaid with the 4 animals, and so I am a chameleon turtle, which means I'm a very detail oriented person, I'm a very structured person, but I'm also a very caring person, and I look at things, I'm not the most outgoing person, but I am personable. Mm-hmm. So if I consider that when I meet a person, so if I know for me that I need somebody that's going to, basically they have to be willing to accept that part of me. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean they have to be the same. They can be like, Glenn is a lion flamingo. So he's outgoing, a flamingo lion. Yeah. He's outgoing. He's a leader. He's a natural born leader. So, he's very opposite of me, and he's a visionary. So he sees big picture, I see little picture. Meaning I see all of the details that go behind the big picture. He's a very big picture person. So we're opposite, but because we are able to embrace and accept each other, and we realize that it balances us together, that was something that we had to consider, because if he was the type of person that he couldn't accept who I was, right, based on who I was, then that was going to be a challenge. Yep. So I had to know who I was, and as we did start dating, we started interacting, I was able to see, okay, he's not putting up resistance against who I am at my core.
Got it.
He's
exactly.
he's not trying to make me be somebody that I'm not.
Right.
And I'm talking about who you are at your core. I'm not saying if you mean and nasty that you don't need to be mean and nasty. I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about at your core.
No mean and nasty in the room.
Who your personality is at the core. That person, you guys need to be able to complement each other personality-wise and be able to embrace and accept each other's personality.
And one of the things that we do in our Relationship Academy is we give people assessments and we help walk them through and coach them through. Now that you know who you are, what do you do about that?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people like to make people accept who they are and think that because I am the way I am, I can't temper that.
Right.
Let me help you really quick.
It's just who I am.
It's just who I am. You knew that when you met me. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't changing myself for nobody. No. Let me help you and let me enlighten you. Although I do believe that who you are at your core DNA level is something that it's entrenched, quite frankly, it's written on the tablets of the essence of who you are. It's not going to significantly change. However, as a 99% flamingo, I am well aware that my flamingo is too much for some people at some time.
And your flamingo's not like it was when we first met.
I think that I still have the capacity to go there. What I think I'm doing is I'm learning how to temper it
Mm-hmm.
according to the circumstances, almost at will. Does that make sense, guys? So, for instance, I am always going to, at my core, and we're going to get into this in a second, have the same values. One of my values, is fun. And that's not going to change. I'm always going to be the person that wants to have a good time. But the way that fun looks today at 53 looks very different than it did at 33 when we met. Right. Or at 30, or I was 32 or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
The point I'm making, babe, is that I've learned to temper that. That only happens with work. That only happens in community. That only happens with applied knowledge, right? I'm not saying you know better because you know better, you do better. That's not necessarily true. If you know better and you decide to do better and you actually carry that out, you will do better. Right. But just because you automatically know better doesn't mean you will automatically do better. So that's what we're talking about. Understanding who you are at your core. It's your personality. It's what makes you up. It's the kind of person you are. When you understand that about you, you can pick people that you should be with based upon that.
Right. And if we go on to the next one,
y'all ready for number 2? Put number 2 in the chat. Put number 2 in the chat. You were going to say something on that?
I was going to go to number 2.
You was going to go straight to number 2. See, that's the chameleon turtle in her. She was detailed. She was saying, listen, we're on a time restraint today, and he is just flamingoing out. Yeah. So we're going to go to number 2.
So number 2 is you have to know what you need. And when we say what you need, we're talking about your values. So you have to know for yourself what things you need in your life. Like for me, family is my number one value. And so I needed to be with a person who could embrace that same value. Now, that may not be their number one value, but it needs to be somewhere on their list. And so family per se isn't Glenn's one of his values, but teamwork is. And so teamwork, family, it goes along together if you look at your family as a team. It means working together, being able to come alongside each other and work together. And that's what family is for me too.
Right.
And so you have to know what your values are in order to make sure that they line up with the other person that you're getting in a relationship with.
I think that when you say that, baby, family for me is something that, although it's not a high or hadn't been a high value of mine, it was something I considered. It just wasn't first, second, or third. I'll give you an example. When Cherie and I met, I was incredibly driven when it came to my business or my professional life. I was a radio executive. I was the youngest station manager for CBS Radio. I was making 6 figures or very close to it at the time, and then went past that 6-figure mark. I was actually making more money than most people I knew, particularly people that had degrees and all that. Like I was killing it, and I was driven. And in me being driven, I didn't have time for much else. I was in a space in my life where it was like, nah, this is all I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm on. If you ain't on this page, then you getting left, even if you're my family. Hence, I was divorced or 3 years separated, about to get a divorce when we met. What did that mean? That means I was not the guy that was willing to make a career move for my family at that time. I need y'all to hear that.
I just realized I did them out of order.
That's okay. That's okay. That's why you need to follow me when I'm doing this, because you be so busy buttoned up, but we're going to make it work. What I need you guys to understand is guys, because I knew what I needed somebody who wanted to help build. Cherie needed somebody who cared about family. The way I, in my mind, put the two together is that one of my top values is teamwork. So when I began to look at my family like a team, then it made sense. So now I can build with my team in mind. Hence, the value for family started moving up the rung.
Right.
So I wasn't okay anymore with coming home and everybody in the family being upset with me because I'm never there. I was no longer okay with that because my perspective shifted. And I think that what people need to understand, you're doing really good. What people need to understand is that if you are willing to temper, if you're willing to look at things from a different perspective, it opens up a world full of opportunities for you. Go ahead.
Right. So So when we say what do you need, and values are a big part of that. But particularly we were talking about this before we got on. When we were talking about what do you need, talking about as far as, like, for me, I knew that I needed a person, for lack of better terms, who was time enough for me. Because of my personality, because of my temperament, I can be controlling. I can be a perfectionist.
No, not you.
And so I needed somebody that was going to check me. I also, because of my experience in my previous relationships, I had the ability to castrate a man with my mouth. And so I was not the most pleasant person
to talk to.
I could slice a person real quick. I cut people off really quick. And so I needed somebody that was going to check me on that, because that was an area I wanted to be better in.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't have anybody in my life at that point in time that was able to check me on that. So I needed a man who was not going to allow me to run them.
Wow. As
much as, in my mind, I wanted to be the boss. I wanted to be able to do what I wanted to do. I wanted things to go the way that I wanted them to be. I needed somebody to lead me.
Wow.
But I had never been in a relationship with somebody that could lead me, partially because I wouldn't allow them, but also they weren't strong enough to lead me. So I needed somebody that was stronger than me, that could lead me, not in a mean way, not in a controlling way, but was able to lead me, that I could develop that much respect for them, that I could allow them to lead me so that I could step back into the role of who I was supposed to be.
That's good, babe.
Because even though I had been married twice before, I was a single parent for a very long time, and I was used to running things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm handling everything. But let's be honest, and this is for my ladies that are single parents, you don't want to carry that weight. Nobody wants to have to carry that weight. We want somebody to come in. We want the prince to come in and rescue us and him to take over. But when you've been doing that for so long, it's very hard to relinquish that control to somebody else. So I needed somebody that came in that commanded that level of respect. Didn't demand it, but he commanded that I release some things based on his character, based on the things that he brought to the table. He had a level of command that allowed me to step back and let him lead. So that's what I needed.
So we're talking about, for those of you guys who may have just jumped in, and that was good, babe, because I think that a lot of people have not really heard that articulated. And the thing I think that resonated with me is that as a single parent, you did not desire to carry the load. You were left holding the bag,
right,
if
I
you
did it because
will.
I had to.
And you did what you had to do. But you would have loved to be able to get some assistance in being able to carry that load. Well, that looks like something. Part of it is relinquishing control. Mm-hmm. But the other part of it is showing up and allowing people who could lead you to step in and help do that. I know that I felt very similar to you in the opposite, that I wanted someone who could slow me down.
Right.
if that makes any sense. I knew I needed that, but I didn't know how to show up to attract that.
Right.
I knew that my moving fast was not sustainable.
Right.
I was always, and still am, a quick thinker. I'm not a deep thinker. I think quickly. I think often, and so, but I also act on them things quick.
Right.
So I'm an executor. I will pull the trigger on something without having thought it all the way through and considered all the ramifications of something. Whereas that's who you are. So you're based upon that. You were able to slow me down, and so this brings me to number 3.
Real
Go
quick,
ahead.
I want to make one other. So oftentimes you hear people say, "I want somebody who completes me." Nobody's going to complete you, but you do need somebody that brings balance to your life,
Or compliment you.
that compliments you or brings balance, and that's what you'll hear the term opposites attract. Oftentimes when people are opposites, it's because they balance each other off. Because if you're extremely one way and they're extremely the other way, when you guys come together, the goal is to come in the middle, and then there's balance in both of your lives.
But here's and I got to go to number 3 because number 3 helps to help you to understand that. Number 3 is we're talking about the 4 things to consider when picking your spouse. Number 1, who are you? Number 2, what do you need? And number 3, what do you like? Tony, I need people to understand this. What I like is temporary. Put that in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
What I like is temporary. What I like today is temporary. It is subject to change.
Yes, Tony.
There was a time where I did not like vegetables. I never imagined a time where I wouldn't eat meat. Well, there was a 3-year period of time where I was a vegetarian and vegan, and then vegan, where I didn't eat meat, and it was because of a specific reason, but I never thought I would be able to pull that off from a preference standpoint. What am I saying? The fact of the matter is that what my likes changed. Here's the problem. Cherie, a lot of people get married and choose to sign up to spend the rest of their lives with somebody based upon what they like only.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that he makes 6 figures. I like the fact that he's tall, dark, and handsome. I like the fact that he has an apartment in the right section of town or a home in the right section. I like the fact that she is a dime piece. I like the fact that so the minute the dime piece has a baby, you don't like her no more?
The minute
I need that to breathe.
Right.
Y'all let that breathe. The minute, fellas, that the dime piece that you were attracted to has your children. These your kids. And now that dime is more of a quarter. God bless her heart. Right?
Not a quarter.
Yeah, she done went from a...
Why she go from a dime to... Can she go to a nickel?
No, because a nickel is less in value.
No, but a nickel is bigger in size. It's not as big as a quarter in size.
Well, I was right, but you ain't finished listening to me.
Okay, I'm sorry.
See, there she go. Listen what I'm telling you. The dime piece, was a dime because it didn't produce nothing.
Right, gotcha.
And what you got to do is change your perspective. I had to do that. I understand what that looks like. When I understood that the reason why she's a quarter is because she's produced.
So she's more valuable.
She's absolutely more valuable.
Gotcha.
Absolutely. Because here's the other part. After she produced, she can go back and become a dime in terms of physical. That's just a physical change. But what she can't do is change her value.
Okay.
I need y'all to hear this. And so you went off the deep end with the other ladies. They talk about, wait a minute. No, y'all need to stay tuned. Listen, stay in tune. Listen to me. I know exactly what I'm talking about. Because there are brothers who are stepping off from women and we get a pass for whatever reason. I can walk around with a K and it's socially acceptable. Walk around, my hair's... You let your wife lose her hair and you're going to have a problem. But I can lose my hair all day long and that's sexy. There's all kinds of inconsistencies in our culture, the norms in our culture, and it gets me stirred up because I was the guy that was so concerned about her hair that I forgot about her, the person. You want to cut your hair? Why is that? Like it's my business. Like it's my hair.
Yeah, he was the first time I cut my hair.
You get what I'm saying?
It was an issue.
It was a problem because of my perspective. And I was functioning in what I like. I had to realize that what I like will change.
Right.
And what I don't do is I don't give myself the opportunity to allow something to change when I focus on, but I don't like that. I don't like short hair. Man, I don't like natural hair. Bruh, like, it may grow on you. Who knows?
Right.
But because you are focused on what you don't like, now here's the problem. People then mess around. People then, I ain't messing with Russ.
That's right.
Right. I know that's right. Two dimes and a nickel. Come on now.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. The point I'm making, guys, is that you do not open yourself for opportunity when you focus on the things you like only. Now, are what you like important? Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's what initially attracts you to a person.
Yes, absolutely. What you like is important. Do me a favor, though. Don't make it the main thing.
Right.
Because if you make it the main thing and it changes, now all of a sudden it's not the main thing anymore.
Right. Right.
And so now you've thrown the baby out with the bathwater. Mm-hmm. You all caught up with the icing instead of focusing on the cake. And the truth of the matter is that, yeah, I know that's right. I'm dropping dimes.
You said the icing. You focus on the icing instead of
the cake. Bruh, let me help you understand something. That icing will get you in trouble. Mm-hmm. You hear me? All kind of rotted teeth. Mm-hmm. And your stomach wasn't even full.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
Well, if I'm going to get my teeth rotted, let me at least have a full stomach. I digress.
And so even like for us, and I'll speak to this. So when we met, like let's say he was an executive at the radio station. He was making six figures. If I was so caught up on that, because being a single mother, that was attractive. I ain't gonna lie. The fact that he's financially stable, I'm a struggling single mother. But if I was so caught up in that, and that was like the core of, okay, this is our relationship. Everything is going to be around that. When he comes to me and tells me that he believes that God is calling him to go into ministry, and he goes from making over $100,000 to nothing the first year,
I don't think they heard you.
That would have been the end of our relationship.
I don't think they heard you.
So we were married a year, and he comes to me and tells me, "Hey, I believe God is calling me into ministry,
full time."
He leaves a six-figure job to making zero that first year. We're basically living off of his 401k, but he's not earning anything. And then after that,
it was a 75%
pay cut when he does start getting paid again. If I was so caught up, if that became the foundation of why I was with him, was because of I liked the financial stability, because I liked that I could stay home, I didn't have to work, because I liked, that he was bringing home this money. That would have been the end of our relationship right then and there. You know what's funny, baby? You say that, and I also think about the guy who loses his job. Right. What if he didn't choose? Like I chose to go into another profession that didn't pay the kind of money that I was currently making. What happens if I get laid off? Right. What happens if I lose my job? Now you got brothers out here who are depressed. They're going through, they're trying to figure out, because culturally they already understand they should be the breadwinner, so to speak, but now circumstances have happened beyond their control, and now because their spouse married them for what they could get or what they liked, now all of a sudden that's just yet another added pressure on something, and you can't even grow through with people because your likes just switched up on you. Right. And so I think that it's significantly important, guys, for us to recognize, and that's number 3. We're going to go to number 4 because we really do have to get out of here, is that the opposite of that is, and we're talking about the 4 things to consider when picking your spouse. Number 1, it's who are you? We're talking about personality. Number 2, what do you need? We're talking about character or value at that point. What do you like? What's temporary, right? Mm-hmm. I want you to consider that. But then also, the last thing, and we talked a lot about it earlier, what do you value? Let me just say this really quickly. Value is what you do, not what you say. Right. Listen to me really carefully. When you start, and we're going to deal with that a little bit today during our conference today with the singles, and we're going to break that apart. When I focus on what it is that I value, you know what a person values based on what you see, not what they say. Let me help y'all. And there will be people that say, I value my health. But my question is, why am I seeing you eat what you want? Right. You say you value, right, being able to be a homeowner. But why do I see you not positioning yourself to be able to purchase one? Mm-hmm. I could keep going. Like,
illustration after illustration. The point I'm making is what you say and what you see don't line up. And the problem is that we get married or we pick people based upon what we like, not what we value. And what I'm telling you is that values are permanent. Values typically do not change. Cherie is going to always value integrity.
Right.
And if she's not with a person who's willing to evolve in that area, because when we met, I had 0.
I wouldn't say 0.
Well,
it was low.
It was very low. If it was a scale of 1 to 10, I probably was at a 2. Well, today I'm at a 9. I would like to believe. Would you say? And so, but that's because I willingly worked on that, and I decided that that's a good thing to have or what have you, and I was willing to make that adjustment. So and we don't have a lot of time to drill down on that. Perhaps we'll pick this up a little bit next week here. But I need y'all to be real clear. Here's the problem, babe. Most people can't pick people based upon what they value because they don't know.
Right. They don't know what they value. You don't know really what you value. There are things that you like, things that you think are important to you, but you've never really sat down and tried to assess what do I really value, and what you value.
And why?
Values are things that you cannot function in life without those things. Like for me,
those
are your non-negotiables. My top 3 values are family, integrity, and personal development. So for me, if you're number 1 family, you got to have I have to have a connection to my family. Like when we were in Georgia, we were far away from my family. That I was depressed. I mean, it affected me not being able to have that closeness with all of my family. It was very important to me. And so in that season, I had to create, I created a family there because I needed that interaction. I needed that family, that closeness. That's very important to me. That's something that I need for me to function. Like you said, integrity. I have very little patience for people that are not honest, that don't have integrity in their lives. I'm a rules person. I try to be honest as much as possible. That's something that really is important to me. I just can't function in environments where there's indiscretion and things like that. And then personal development. For me, if you're not, I don't believe in people being stagnant. I think that is the worst position that a person can be in. And for me, has meant even my going back to school, me pursuing my degree. That's one level of my personal development, but just always growing, always trying to become a better version of who I am.
Yeah.
And being with a person who's trying to do that. I don't want to be with a person, or I can't be in relationship with people who are those people where it's just who I am.
Right.
It's like, you ain't trying to change. You're not trying to
evolve,
grow. You're not trying to evolve. I believe that we're all living, growing organisms, and you're supposed to evolve. If you're the same person you were if I run into somebody I went to high school with, you're the same person you were when we were 16. That's a problem to me.
Right.
It's like, you haven't changed.
Right. Really?
You don't want to change. You don't want to grow.
Right.
To me, that's a lazy way of living life.
Yeah, and it just means that we probably will not be in close relationship.
Right.
I'm certainly not marrying you, but we're not going to be close friends because our values are not aligned, or our values are not shared. Now, people are not necessarily going to value the exact same things you value in the order by which you value them. But if you don't have shared values, you are going to have a problem. Mm-hmm. And I promise you guys, it's not if, it's when. And I think that what most single people did, we did it when we, the first times around, we did it. And that was, we did what everybody in the culture did. And that was pick based upon what you like, pick based upon your preferences, pick based on who they are, not who you are. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Oh, they this, they that, they this. I'm trying to, no, you're not ready. You know what I'm saying? You're not ready. I'm talking about she ready. No, she not.
Wasn't ready.
She was not ready. So the point I'm making is, guys, is that if you do that, you're setting yourself up. We got to get out of here. We have got to get out of here. We got to get downtown. Listen, if you are a person who's single, if you're dating, if you are engaged and you want community, you want to grow with a group of people where believe it or not, what y'all get here is so surface compared to what we do in these groups. And the reason why is because we are unpacking. Today, we're going to unpack people's personal lives and give them specific coaching tips, strategies proven that will take them in their specific area to the next level. You can't get this here because I can't see you. Two, I don't know anything about you. And so if you're not careful, you'll sit and listen to these and they will become cliff notes. And what I know about cliff notes is it's just the surface. There's a deeper meaning to some of these things. And one of the things that we see people do is they often go out and try to apply something that they were exposed to, like it's something that they really, really understand. Does that make sense, babe?
And at the end of the day, the key is that you have to know you first before you can get to be in a relationship with somebody else. And so if you don't know who you are, number one, it's going to be hard for you to know what you need.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard for you to even distinguish what you like.
Yeah.
And you surely are not going to know what you value.
Yeah, 100%. Russ, you going in. I love it. He said stagnant water is bad for everything but viruses. Mm-hmm. Listen, here's what I know. And on that note, my flamingo brother, we got to get out of here. We love you. We appreciate you guys. At the end of the day, here's what we know to be true. We all need some help. Y'all be good. Let's talk soon.